Chapter 1139. The second sorcerer god was furious. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so ruthless. He also did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to snatch the sword with his bare hands and come out unscathed. This was impossible. He knows that I'm dealing with him? Otherwise, he wouldn't be so ruthless. Which Holy Land told him? The second sorcerer god stared at Yi Qinghan's back with a cold glint in his eyes. Yi Qinghan's face was dull as if his divine power had been depleted. He left the enchantment in exhaustion. His right hand covered his left wrist as if he had been severely injured. His pale face was definitely not fake. He's injured. I was wondering who could snatch the deity's sword with his bare hands and come out unscathed. It turns out that he used all his divine power to protect his left hand. Although there are no external injuries, his left hand is almost crippled and his divine power is depleted. It's not worth it for this point. The deities seemed to have seen through everything and could not help but laugh as they discussed. They all felt that Yi Qinghan did not have the strength to continue the battle and wished that they could meet him in the next round so that they could suppress him. Yi Qinghan sneered in his heart. If he did not pretend to be injured, the people below would not dare to fight. Then, how could he injure the deities? The second sorcerer god ordered his men to bring Wu Zulong back to the inn to recuperate. Then he sent a message to Yi Qinghan and asked coldly, "Are you going against the sorcerer tribe?" Yi Qinghan's eyes glinted coldly as he said in a low voice, "You should know better than me who is going against whom first. If you don't want anyone to know, then don't do it. You've lived for so long, don't you know that you can't hide the truth?" The second sorcerer god's eyes glinted coldly as he scanned the 4 holy lands, trying to find out who was the one who betrayed him. However, after a quick scan, he did not seem to be able to find any other hidden partners of Yi Qinghan. The serpent saw that the 2 of them were at loggerheads and guessed that it would not end peacefully. It could only shake its head and sigh. Yi Qinghan saw the second sorcerer god's reaction and was even more certain that the sorcerer tribe was targeting the sect. They wanted to expel the sect. He couldn't help but feel annoyed, and his killing intent grew even stronger. However, maintaining the transmogrification of the Great Wastelands tablet required too much mental energy. Yi Qinghan was indeed exhausted at this moment. He immediately sat down on the ground and began to recover his mental energy. The 3 matches ended quickly, and it was Yi Qinghan's turn to battle Feng Qingshan. This person was the inheritor of the wind god, and his speed was the fastest. He could kill people from 1,000 miles away, and in the blink of an eye, he could travel 10,000 miles away. He was one of the strongest opponents. Yi Qinghan did not care. No matter how fast this person was, his lack of defense was still a weakness. The Great Desolation divine robe protected his throat, and even his head was protected by a faint energy. As long as he could block Feng Qingshan's attack, Feng Qingshan would be doomed. Yi Qinghan pretended to be weak and stepped towards the barrier. Feng Qingshan's temperament was indeed impressive. He stood tall and straight, and his aura was invincible. He had never been defeated since the start of the battle. The wind god's blade in his hand was cold and threatening. It was stained with the blood of many kings and deities. "My wind god's blade only drinks the blood of the strong. It has drunk the blood of 300 kings and killed 3 deities. You will make it a legend." Feng Qingshan said indifferently, "My fist has killed countless people. You are just an ordinary person." Yi Qinghan retorted with even more violence. "Cut the crap. Your glory will end in my hands." Whoosh! Feng Qingshan's robe fluttered, and his figure disappeared. The entire barrier was filled with his afterimages. This speed was not only fast, it had reached a heaven-defying realm. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and closed his eyes to sense Feng Qingshan's position. However, his speed was too fast. Even if he could sense Feng Qingshan's location, he couldn't catch him. The natural enemy of such an existence wasn't Yi Qinghan, but Emperor Yi. Her zither music could completely track Feng Qingshan's tracks. Feng Qingshan was also observing Yi Qinghan. He saw that the latter's face was calm, and his hand was clenched. He was waiting for an opportunity to launch a thunderous attack. Yi Qinghan still didn't open his eyes. "If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy attacks, I'll attack first." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Feng Qingshan's probing wind blade swept past Yi Qinghan's back, but Yi Qinghan didn't move. He finally lost his patience and personally attacked Yi Qinghan's back. Whoosh. The wind god's blade was incomparably sharp. It cut through the spatial shackles like tofu and directly swept towards Yi Qinghan's neck. Whoosh. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and slashed backwards. His speed was as fast as lightning. The defense on his right waist was weak, and Feng Qingshan seized the opportunity. His speed was extremely fast, and he slashed across the top of Crazy Zhong. Puchit, the wind god's blade quickly pierced through the outer layer of the golden armor. Yi Qinghan borrowed the force of the impact to fly backwards. He crashed into the ground while spurting out blood as if he had suffered a serious injury. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Feng Qingshan felt that he had already touched Yi Qinghan's skin. He believed that Yi Qinghan must have been injured. He immediately gained the upper hand and attacked Yi Qinghan crazily. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and slashed wildly. He hit the wind god's blade squarely and borrowed the force of the impact to fly backwards once again. From the outside, he looked extremely miserable. However, only he knew that everything was going according to his plan. Showing weakness to the enemy, Feng Qingshan was looking forward to killing Yi Qinghan and displaying the might of the wind god. Boom! Feng Qingshan's energy erupted. The elements of the wind turned violent and formed countless wind blades that attacked Yi Qinghan from all directions. Yi Qinghan's divine power poured out and formed a huge defensive barrier around him. It blocked the countless wind blades. However, the barrier was getting weaker and weaker. It looked like it was about to be broken. Some people couldn't help but laugh. They knew that Yi Qinghan's glory was about to come to an end. Feng Qingshan was even more confident that Yi Qinghan was just an arrow at the end of its flight. It was impossible for him to withstand his strongest attack. He attacked the energy barrier forcefully. As expected, the defensive barrier couldn't withstand a single blow. The wind god's blade directly broke through the barrier and attacked Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan crazily attacked the wind god's blade. His strength was greatly weakened and he was forced to retreat. He lost control of his body and looked like he was about to lose. Feng Qingshan was overjoyed. His body flashed and the wind god's blade slashed towards Yi Qinghan's main body. It went straight for his throat. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The space collapsed. In the blink of an eye, the wind god's blade arrived in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He gave up on the craziness and used his body to block the wind god's blade. He reached out and grabbed Feng Qingshan's head. Everyone was stunned. They felt that Yi Qinghan had gone crazy. Feng Qingshan was arrogant. He was confident that his blade could crush Yi Qinghan's body and soul. Therefore, he didn't dodge at all. Boom! When the wind god's blade hit Yi Qinghan's body, Feng Qingshan was shocked. The wind god's blade couldn't penetrate Yi Qinghan's defense. Moreover, he was caught by Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan grabbed Feng Qingshan's head and pressed it down. He used his knee to smash Feng Qingshan's head. Feng Qingshan's eyes were bloodshot and dizzy. Before he could admit defeat, he saw Yi Qinghan's fists raining down on him. Boom! 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 The brutal fists penetrated Feng Qingshan's defense. A kick deformed his leg bones. Then Yi Qinghan flew up and used his knee to send Feng Qingshan flying. Cracked out, Feng Qingshan screamed and flew backward. However, Yi Qinghan caught up to him. Yi Qinghan's fist rushed out of the flames and hit Feng Qingshan's head. Feng Qingshan's head exploded on the spot. His soul and godhead were severely injured. We admit defeat. The divine master of the wind god bloodline immediately shouted and chose to admit defeat. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. In the end, he didn't choose to kill. His aura dissipated. He staggered and almost fell. His vigorous face seemed to have lost all color. It was as if he would collapse at any time. Chapter 1140. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be able to last this long and even defeat Feng Qingshan. However, from the looks of it, Yi Qinghan couldn't even stand properly. He was definitely going to lose the next match. Emperor Yi quickly went up and supported Yi Qinghan. He discovered that his body was brimming with divine energy and didn't seem like a weak person at all. However, she had followed Yi Qinghan since she was young and immediately understood that Yi Qinghan was pretending to be weak. She pretended to be anxious and said, "Master, let's go down and admit defeat. It will be very dangerous if we continue fighting." Yi Qinghan clutched his chest and sweated profusely. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to cooperate so well. He laughed inwardly. This little girl actually knew how to lie. "Go down and admit defeat," Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. The next match was between Yi Qinghan and Coiling Tiger. Yi Qinghan didn't want to fight in the first place. Now, he could use this opportunity to tell everyone that he was heavily injured and let the next match's Son of God attack with all his might. In the end, everyone would realize that he was simply unkillable. Coiling Tiger was good at acting. When he heard Yi Qinghan admit defeat, he revealed an arrogant and disdainful expression. There was also unwillingness and anger in his eyes. He felt that he had missed an opportunity to end a legend. The second sorcerer god saw this and didn't doubt that Coiling Tiger had betrayed him. Don't allow him to have the chance to heal. Just admit defeat for the next 2 matches. Coiling Tiger and Young Master when strength is unquestionable. There's no point in continuing the fight, the second sorcerer god said to the holy masters of both sides. As expected, Coiling Tiger and Young Master Wen's opponents directly admitted defeat. It was Yi Qinghan's turn to go up. Yi Qinghan had already admitted defeat once. If he lost again, the arrogant sect wouldn't have enough points. Force him to go up, force him to make a move. Yi Qinghan looked at his next opponent, Ji Wuhan, and saw him sneering. Clearly, he was unwilling to accept his loss to Emperor Yi and wanted to get back at him this time. "Yi Qinghan, I'd like to see you kneel and admit defeat," Ji Wuhan sneered. "Master, you can't fight. Just admit defeat." Emperor Yi pretended to be anxious and said, "That's right, there's no point in fighting like this. Even if you win this round, the next round is Emperor Xinyuan. You still won't have a chance." Gu Qingyu didn't understand what was going on and reminded him in a deep voice. The anxious looks on the Kuang sect members' faces could not be faked. Everyone was certain that Yi Qinghan did not have a chance to fight anymore. After taking 2 heavy blows from the Supreme Saint, it would be abnormal if he still had energy left. Yi Qinghan pushed Emperor Yi's hand away and walked resolutely towards the battlefield. Every step he took was laborious. It seemed like even walking was difficult, so what was the point of fighting? Even an ordinary king would be able to kill him. The second sorcerer god frowned as a cold light flashed past Yi Qinghan's back. He always felt that the Kuang sect was an uncontrollable force. Instead of letting him become an obstacle to the sorcerer tribe in the later stages, it was better to take this opportunity to eliminate him. The second sorcerer god waved his hand and summoned the sorcerer tribe's patriarch, Wu Yi. He whispered a few words into his ear, and Wu Yi took advantage of the chaos to leave. The Kuang sect members did not notice that Wu Yi had left. They were still staring at Yi Qinghan, afraid that something would happen to him. Ji Wuhan quickly stepped into the barrier, his eyes cold and mocking. He wanted to provoke Yi Qinghan. He was afraid that Yi Qinghan would admit defeat halfway and miss the opportunity to end his glory. Yi Qinghan slowly stepped into the barrier. Before he could stand firm, Ji Wuhan did not give him a chance to admit defeat and directly attacked him. He was ready to kill him in one blow and become an unsurpassable legend. Killing Yi Qinghan was a contest between the saints. Whoosh! The primal chaos will turned into a bolt of lightning and charged at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan did not want to waste time, so he allowed Ji Wuhan to attack and waited for him to get close. Boom! The primal chaos will hit Yi Qinghan's right rib, and the powerful impact slammed him into the barrier. However, the primal chaos will did not break through the barrier. Yi Qinghan had indeed vomited blood from the impact of the primal chaos wheel. Although the great wilderness divine robe could resist divine power, there were still powerful impacts that it could not block. Yi Qinghan did not have any defense, so it was normal for him to vomit blood. Ji Wuhan was stunned. He did not expect that he would not be able to kill Yi Qinghan's physical body. While he was stunned, Yi Qinghan grabbed his hair and used his elbow to hit his head faster than a divine weapon. Buzz! Ji Wuhan was stunned on the spot. His head was dizzy. He raised his right hand, wanting to block Yi Qinghan's second attack, but his wrist was caught. Crack. The bones in Ji Wuhan's right hand were broken. Boom. Yi Qinghan raised his leg and kicked, hitting Ji Wuhan's elbow joint. Ji Wuhan's right hand was crippled, and the primal chaos wheel in his hand fell to the ground, sending dust flying. Boom. Boom. Yi Qinghan didn't show any mercy. His fists rained down on Ji Wuhan's chest, causing him to suffocate and faint on the spot. Ji Wuhan's body felt as if it had been struck by a supreme lightning tribulation. His muscles withered and withered as divine power filled his limbs and bones. The primal chaos Holy Land admits defeat. Primal chaos Holy Master was furious as he rushed to the barrier and shouted. The barrier dissipated. Yi Qinghan's eyes were bloodshot. He immediately pushed Ji Wuhan away and dodged to the side, afraid that primal chaos Holy Master would attack again. Yi Qinghan was on the verge of collapse. He was not just an arrow at the end of its flight. It looked more like a dying flash. His face was pale without a trace of blood, and blood dripped from his right rib. His rib was probably broken. Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the palatial Buddha pagoda in his body. It had already shattered. Primal chaos Holy Sun Ji Wuhan's compass attack was indeed strong. Even after being blocked by the Great Desolation Divine Robe, he could still shatter the palatial Buddha pagoda. His strength was evident. However, he had been tricked by Yi Qinghan because he had deliberately allowed Ji Wuhan to shatter it. Otherwise, he would not have had a chance. Ji Wuhan was defeated. The happiest person was none other than Qing Emperor Xianyuan. The powerful attacks of the people in front of him had heavily injured Yi Qinghan and injured him. Primal Chaos Holy Master hugged Ji Wuhan. Before leaving, he glared at Yi Qinghan fiercely, wishing he could kill him on the spot. Yi Qinghan supported Zhong Kuang with a bitter smile and slowly left the barrier. However, before he could get far, one side admitted defeat in the next two matches. It was his turn immediately. Everyone from the arrogant sect was furious. This was clearly aimed at Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, why would they admit defeat without fighting? Was it because the arrogant sect was not a supreme holy land that they should be eliminated? Seeing that Yi Qinghan was still struggling, the serpent Shinjiao could not help but sigh. Yi Qinghan, admit defeat. The arrogant sect will not be able to get the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. You have at least 20 matches left to fight. Li Feng has almost 10 matches left. With so many matches forfeited, what can the others do even if they win? Yi Qinghan sneered and said sternly, even if the arrogant sect is eliminated today, none of the holy sons of the various holy lands will walk out of the barrier alive. Strong and domineering, Yi Qinghan exuded a towering battle intent. Or rather, it was his unwillingness and anger that supported him to continue fighting. Qing Emperor Xuanyuan's smiling face revealed a hint of admiration. It was impossible not to admire such an expert. I admire you. I will leave you with your dignity. Qing Emperor Xianyuan held the divine sword in his hand. His green robe fluttered in the wind, and his aura soared. His figure moved, followed by tens of thousands of techniques. His sword qi almost materialized. Supreme holy techniques were attached to his body with the accompaniment of the heavens. He had a preliminary supreme battle strength. Qing Emperor Xianyuan stared at Yi Qinghan. He finally understood that he must not get close to Yi Qinghan. His physical body was simply too strong. Fighting him in close combat was simply courting death. His supreme holy techniques could not be used at all. Once he caught hold of him, his thunderous attacks would quickly make his opponent lose all resistance. Yi Qinghan's power was the barren divine power. It could instantly destroy the vitality of the physical body. No one could resist him in close combat, including Mo Li and Yi Kun. No matter how strong their physical bodies and close combat were, they could not compete with him. Chapter 1141. While Yi Qinghan was cheating others in Blue Sky City's gambling arena, we had mobilized the sorcerer god guards of the sorcerer tribe. These powerhouses had silently guarded the ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe for countless years. Every single one of them had a cultivation level that was not inferior to that of a chief god. They were killing machines without any emotions. There were only a few hundred of them, and he mobilized 30 of them. The 30 sorcerer god guards wore masks made in the chaotic era and quickly left the territory of the sorcerer tribe. They quietly arrived at the Six Paths domain and rushed to the Shura domain. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, that the night was enchanting, and the killing intent was even stronger. The sorcerer god guards might not be the strongest, but they cultivated killing techniques. They were extremely vicious, and their power was multiplied when used together. These days, the crazy sect's defense was empty, so the Shura team's patrol density increased. Xia Qiue, Lu Outyen, and the others' defense was also strengthened, and they were constantly patrolling the periphery. 3,000 elite experts of the ancient massacre god guarded the Xiaolong region, and 300 elite Shura team returned to defend the Shaojianxing. These experts did not dare to be careless. If they were careless, the crazy sect's base camp would be uprooted. The leader of the sorcerer god guards led the experts into the Shura domain in the middle of the night. It was a moonless and windy night. The 30 people moved very quickly, and their traces were untraceable. They quickly crossed the entire Shura domain and came to the entrance of the endless galaxy. The entrance was guarded by a large army, and no one was allowed to enter or leave without permission. The weakest among the 3,000 armored soldiers was a medium god. This showed how strong Yi Qinghan's defense of the endless galaxy was. However, the 3,000 soldiers were nothing in the eyes of the sorcerer god guards. The 30 people scattered under the leader's signal and rushed into the camp. Cold light shone everywhere as they killed. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the 3,000 soldiers were destroyed. The captain was the outer sect elder of the crazy sect, Shui Yang. His overconfidence and mistakes caused the death of the 3,000 armored soldiers. He only woke up from his seclusion when the battle was about to end. He smelled the strong smell of blood and immediately sent a message to the rear. Jian Chenxue was resting and was awakened by the urgent sound of the communication charm. There were only a few words on it. Enemy attack at the entrance of the endless galaxy. Before Shui Yang could put away the communication amulet, a figure appeared behind him out of thin air. A short knife with a cold light pierced through his body. The communication amulet left his hand and was caught by the other party. The enemy attack has been dealt with. The man in black immediately sent a message to Jian Chenxue and put the message charm into his universe ring. In the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn, the 30 of them had slaughtered 3,000 mid-level gods, a number of high gods, and even Master God Shui Yang had been killed. Let's end this quickly. Let's get rid of Guangzhong tonight. The leader of the sorcerer god guards immediately led his men into the endless star system. In the crazed sect, Jian Chenxue looked at the 2 messages and knew that the entrance was broken. Otherwise, the messages would not be like this, so he immediately took action. Boom! Jian Chenxue broke through the door of the insane sect's closed-door cultivation room. He found Yi Chintian and Su Shenyi, who were in closed-door cultivation, and said in a low voice, "There's an enemy attack. Get ready. I'll inform Uncle Xia and Uncle Lu." Void God Yi said immediately. "Which room is Brother Wutian in? I'll go find him." Yi Chintian quickly asked. Lin Wutian, Gu Qingyu's chief disciple, was also his only disciple. He had been in closed-door cultivation for a long time, and many people had forgotten about him. However, his strength was not inferior to Gu Qingyu's, and his sword will was sharper. "He's in the innermost room with your Aunt Meng Shi. Ask them to gather at the entrance of the Xiaolong domain and block the enemy from the outside." The younger generation of the insane sect was all thrown out, and the sect was in chaos. Although these young people did not have much experience in fighting, they had a lot of experience in fighting each other. Their talents were frightening, and their combat strength was not bad. There were dozens of them, and the older generation was only left with Shirgu, Yi Mingxi, and Jian Chenxue. Of course, Lin Wutian's strength was stronger than the older generation's experts. The reason he was left in the insane sect was to protect the sect. Lin Wutian was awakened by the knocking on the door. He opened his eyes, and there was no trace of life in them. He was like a sharp sword that was about to be unsheathed. He slowly stood up and saw a set of golden armor, reincarnation divine sword, and golden armor gloves in the closed-door cultivation room. These were given to him by Yi Qinghan. Lin Wutian immediately put on the golden armor and dripped his blood on it. He held the reincarnation divine sword in his hand. It was very handy, as if it was made for him. It was more than 1,000 times more powerful than the divine weapon in his hand. Good sword. Lin Wutian did not speak for a long time, and his voice was a little hoarse. Good sword, my ass. Come with me. There are enemies in the endless galaxy. I guess they're coming for the inner sect of the insane sect. Yi Chen forcibly blasted open the stone door and dragged Lin Wutian out. On the way, Lin Wutian found out that the others had gone to participate in the gambling fight. The insane sect's defense was weak, and the enemies took the opportunity to invade. The Xiaolong region was silent for a long time. As for the restlessness, a large number of soldiers became active. Xia Qiyu mobilized her army and surrounded Shao Zhanxing. The 300 elite warriors of the Shura team were led to the entrance of the Xiaolong region by Yi Mengxi, and they were lying in ambush. The 3,000 elites of the ancient massacre god were also there, waiting for the enemies to fall into the trap. Lin Wutian appeared at the entrance of the Xiaolong region in a teleportation manner, and Yi Chen followed closely behind. I'll go and see how many people there are. After Lin Wutian finished speaking, he teleported away silently, without any aura, like a sharp sword passing through time and space. At this moment, the warriors of the witch god guards were wearing blood-red clothes. They quickly crossed the central region and rushed toward the Xiaolong region. There was no region gate in the Xiaolong region, and anyone who wanted to enter the region had to fly. The insane sect would not be so stupid as to let people kill their way into the core region. Lin Wutian stepped forward and hid in the dark. He found that there were more than 20 figures rapidly approaching from afar. The fluctuations of divine power were very clear, but 3 or 4 of them were very weak. There were only about 30 people in total. Lin Wutian estimated that the insane sect was strong enough to crush them, so he secretly retreated. Jian Chenxue looked dignified. When he saw Lin Wutian coming back, he immediately asked, "How many people? How long will it take for them to arrive here?" "About 30 people. The weakest of them is at the King God realm. Their divine power fluctuations are very weak. I guess they are from the chaotic era. Their secret techniques are of a high level, and they are good at formations. When they appear, I will lead the Shura team to break them up and kill them separately," Lin Wutian said quickly. "Later, you will find your own targets. In short, don't let them gather together." Jian Chenxue nodded, and his eyes were full of seriousness. The 3,000 iron-armored guards were wiped out in such a short time. The newcomers must be very strong. It would be difficult to defend against them with so few people. At this moment, Xia Qiyu and Lu Aoyan each appeared at the entrance of the Xiaolong region with 1,000 guards. "Is the defense at the rear ready?" Jian Chenxue asked quickly. "Yes, all the armies at the major gateways have been mobilized and entered the Xiaolong region. With the support of the star formation, even if 10 giant gods attacked together, they would not be able to break the barrier in 3 to 5 days, Xia Qiyu said in a deep voice. Chapter 1143. Yi Qinghan could not take the attack on his base. He gritted his teeth and returned to the outskirts of the city, looking extremely upset. Yi Qinghan had suppressed several deities. Everyone thought that he could not hold on any longer. Moreover, he pretended to be weak, which made the king elites behind him even more excited. How many of us have the competition ended? Yi Qinghan looked at Medusa and asked softly. Brother Yan is done. He's not suitable for the battle arena. He only fought 2 battles, 1 win and 1 loss. He's not in the later battles. Everyone else has at least 1 more battle, Medusa replied. Yan Yunbei looked up at Yi Qinghan and asked through voice transmission, "What's wrong?" "Something happened in the endless galaxy. An unknown force attacked us. The first wave was blocked, and Wutian is the only superpower house left. I'm worried that he won't be enough. Brother Yan, you don't have any more battles. Bring all the supreme divine powers back and stop the enemy at all costs. We'll return as soon as we're done with the battle," Yi Qinghan said immediately. Yan Yunbei did not say much. He was not suitable for the competition. He was only suitable for assassination and defense. He took away more than 10 drops of supreme divine powers from Yi Qinghan and the unconscious Li Feng. They disappeared from Blue Sky City quietly. That night, the Beast Tamer lineage and the Unifying Sect received a request for help from the Insane Sect. Bai Fengyun and Yi Jingxing each led 100 top-notch half-step lords from the City of Spells into the Azura territory. They guarded the entrance of the Endless Galaxy and received a drop of supreme divine powers from the Insane Sect. 2 of the 3 clan elders from the Beast Tamer lineage came. The clan elder from Martial God City brought almost all the experts from his lineage. The clan elder from the Xinyuan lineage also brought more than 10 lord-level experts. All of them guarded the entrance. The Endless Galaxy deployed their troops. The army gathered on the 2 dead stars behind Owl Warstar to prevent the enemy from taking a detour and coming from the depths of chaos. The army of 30 million was a sea of people. Although their cultivation bases were not high, they were willing to fight to the death for the Insane Sect. Their faith was absolutely pure, and they would not regret dying on the battlefield. Jian Chenxue thought about it again and decided to let Roger from the South Horizon region lead a group of experts back to help. After all, there were many experts there. In the South Horizon region, Roger was currently assessing the cultivation of the young disciples of the region. He had developed this region to a considerable scale and everything was run according to the rules. The city lords of the 18 cities were also extremely loyal. They were attracted by Roger's charisma and no one dared to go against his will. When Roger received Jian Chenxue's request for help, he immediately gathered the 18 city lords and ordered them to bring the most powerful lord-level experts in their cities. There weren't many of them, only about 130. However, they had improved a lot over the past few days. Their combat power was very strong. When they heard that the crazy faction needed reinforcements, they were not afraid. Instead, they were excited. This was a great opportunity to make a contribution. However, not everyone had the chance to go and help. After all, the South Horizon region still needed someone to guard it. I will only take half of the strongest with me. The rest will guard the South Horizon region. All the rules will be the same. After I leave, the South Horizon region will be handed over to my assistant, Xan Jian. As the governor, everyone has to listen to his orders. Roger quickly announced the list of people to follow and looked at a young man beside him. This young man was Xan Jian. His eyes were full of wisdom, deep and bright. His strength was not bad as he had just entered the High God realm. However, his wisdom and talent were worthy of Roger's careful nurturing. Xan Jian, I will leave the South Horizon region to you for the time being. They will cooperate with you, Roger said solemnly. Yes, sir. Xan Jian was very respectful and admired Roger from the bottom of his heart. Although his cultivation was not high, his words and actions were quite powerful. No one dared to go against his will. The aura of a superior was as if he was born with it. After settling the South Horizon region, Roger took 60 experts to the Azura region through the region gate. They happened to meet Yan Yunbei at the entrance of the Azura region. A group of people stepped into the entrance of the Endless Galaxy and rushed to the Xiaolong region as fast as lightning. Kuang Zong's reaction was very fast. However, in the ancestral land of the sorcerer tribe, Wu Yi was furious when he saw that the 30 sorcerer god guards he had sent were all killed within the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. Kuang Zong, I have underestimated you. Even with so many experts, you can still kill 30 of my sorcerer god guards in such a short time. Wu Yi stood in the sorcerer god temple, his eyes flashing with cold light. He waved his hand and said coldly, Sorcerer god guards, the first team will follow me to the Endless Galaxy. No one is allowed to carry any sorcerer tribe accessories. All of you will wear the waist pendants of the Demon God Mountain. A row of black-clothed people appeared in the sorcerer god temple. There were 100 experts. Overall, each of them was stronger than the first batch of sorcerer god guards. They wore masks and had no emotions. Wu Yi waved his hand and a row of waist pendants filled with demonic chi appeared. The runes on them were very special. They had the symbol of the Demon God Mountain's Demon God Guards. Yan Yunbei entered the entrance of the Owl Dragon region alone and hid on the dead stars. Yi Qinghan raised his palm and struck the void in front of him, causing the earth to shatter. What the hell is this? Yi Qinghan took a few steps back and stood in front of the Kuang sect members. His expression was extremely ugly. Although his palm strike missed, he had received a solid attack. What's going on? Jiang Jingtian and the others were shocked. They had never seen Yi Qinghan attack in front of them. Yi Qinghan didn't care about disguising himself anymore. There was no need to. He dispersed the Great Desolation armor and used a portion of his mental power to search the surroundings. However, he didn't find anything. Only then did the various sacred lords realize that Yi Qinghan was faking it. They were furious, but they were also attracted by Yi Qinghan's current situation. The second sorcerer god and the others were shocked when they saw the golden armor on Yi Qinghan's chest being cut open and covered in blood. He was attacked? Who did it? The serpent was shocked. He didn't know who could kill Yi Qinghan silently and escape unscathed. Didn't that mean that the person could also attack them and escape unscathed? The second sorcerer god shook his head. His expression was very serious, indicating that it wasn't one of his men. Puchid immediately after, a scream was heard from the sorcerer race's camp. A powerful elite fell to the ground and died. His blood turned white and there was no sign of life. Yi Qinghan kept retreating. His eyes shone brightly. He had a feeling that this thing was after his Great Desolation monument. What? Everyone was in an uproar. Someone could kill someone in front of the sacred lords of the various sacred lands and escape unscathed. Boom! Yi Qinghan suddenly struck with his saber and slashed at the front left. There was an obvious mark on the ground that wasn't caused by the saber chi. It was a footprint. Bang! Yi Qinghan followed up with a sweep of his saber towards the footprint. The saber chi flew through the air. It was obvious that the saber chi was hitting the void and wouldn't be blocked. However, after a boom, everyone realized that someone could hide themselves. A wave of air rushed out in all directions, and the footprint immediately disappeared. Chapter 1145. The footprints disappeared, and it was as if the thing that had attacked him had never existed. It was impossible to capture. Only 6 or 7 footprints remained in front of everyone, proving that someone had indeed attacked Yi Qinghan. Even the second sorcerer god was shocked, let alone the sacred masters of the various sacred lands. What kind of creature is this? Transparent? Yi Qinghan frowned and looked at the second sorcerer god, hoping that he could give an answer. So it really exists? There are really powerful creatures? The second sorcerer god muttered, unable to believe what he was seeing. 9 worlds. Transparent god race. Great Desolation domain. Destroyed. You are the master of the desolation. The transparent god race has found you. Quickly return to your body. The Great Desolation Monument transmitted an inexplicable message. Yi Qinghan was shocked. The chaotic universe was one world, and there were 8 worlds outside. The Great Desolation domain had been destroyed, and the invisible god race had sensed the Great Desolation Monument and come to silence him? I'm the master of the Great Desolation? I'm not from the chaotic universe? But I was born on Owl War Planet. What's going on? Yi Qinghan's mind was in a mess. He had no idea what the Great Desolation Monument's message meant. Second Senior, what's the situation with this transparent person? Where did he come from? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. Everyone looked at the second sorcerer god. He was the oldest and came from the chaotic era. If he didn't know about the transparent person, the serpent probably wouldn't know either. As for the other sacred masters, it was even more impossible for them to know. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen such a thing. I heard from Father that there are powerful creatures outside, ridiculously powerful. Some sacred masters from the outer realm came to Father, but I don't know what they talked about. Later he left and never came back. However, I know that not long after he left, a war of gods broke out. The second sorcerer god's expression was ugly. He couldn't imagine why the outer realm creatures would invade the chaotic universe. The serpent god Flood Dragon didn't know why the divine war had erupted, nor did he know that there were creatures in the outer realm. Therefore, he wasn't frightened by the outer realm creatures. However, he knew that the invisible outer realm person had attacked Yi Qinghan the moment he appeared. It was impossible for him to attack repeatedly for no reason. Yi Qinghan, what do you have that's so powerful that it doesn't belong to the Chaosverse? I hope you can answer me honestly, the divine python dragon asked. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Besides the Great Wastelands tablet, what else could it be? However, he had only transformed the Great Wastelands tablet into a protective armor. He had not even used it in battle. Chapter 1146. In the Shura region, a simple battle with only 100 people had caused the Shura region to lose hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Blood flowed like a river and flooded the land. The Shura team was almost completely annihilated. Even though Yi Jingxing and Bai Fengyun had the powerful divine armor and divine weapon, as well as the divine power of a top-tier master god, they were still seriously injured. The two clan elders were even more so. Their strength was definitely not inferior to the top experts of the inner sect. They were not much weaker than Jiang Jingtian. However, their chests were almost pierced through. The divine beasts in their bodies were also dying. The wings of the divine beasts with the phoenix bloodline were broken and they fell into a pool of blood. When Yi Qinghan brought everyone back, he saw the scene in front of him. His eyes were spitting fire. He quickly organized the army to save the people and bury the corpses. Did you find out who it was? Yi Qinghan looked at Zixian and asked in a hoarse voice. Zixian stretched out her hand, holding the broken waist pendant of the demon god guard. She said in a crisp voice, "This is the waist pendant of the demon god mountain's demon god guard. However, from what I know, they will not wear it when they are on a mission. Just like the divine eye guards of my clan, they are all existences that protect the ancestral land. Normally, they will not use it. They are very powerful. Once they use it, they will give up their identity and will not bring it out. I suspect that someone is trying to frame the demon god mountain and cause us both to suffer." Frame? Sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a cruel smile. He was the ancestor of scheming people. Second brother was also a divine bird. Only a divine bird could trick him. No matter what, it was not anyone else's turn to trick him. Brother Jiang, take the two clan elders to rest. They must have fought with the invaders. I don't believe that the enemy did not leave any flaws. Yi Qinghan sneered. Looking at the corpses, they were all the treasures of the insane sect. If they did not take revenge this time, where would their reputation be? Where would their dignity be? Immediately, Jiang Jingtian brought the two clan elders back to the central region of the endless star system to rest. Then he joined the rescue team. This time, there were quite a few people who died, but there were even more who were injured. Many of them were seriously injured, and with divine medicine, they could still be saved. Yi Qinghan did everything he could to save the lives of the injured. In a single night, he saved nearly 60,000 people. Most of the injured were sent to the central region of the endless star system. All that was left were severed limbs and corpses piled up like mountains. After a day and a night, the death toll was finally calculated. The two attacks had killed a total of 280,000 soldiers. 100,000 were severely injured, and more than 200,000 were lightly injured. More than 100 of the Tribunus-level experts had died. This was the pillar of the insane faction. Looking at the number of deaths and the cultivation levels of the dead masters, Zixian quickly came to a conclusion. It must have been a divine guard from one of the supreme holy lands. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused so much damage, said Zixian in a muffled voice. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He was furious, but he also saw the weakness of the insane sect. They had too few experts and resources. They were not on the same level at all. I will find out who you are. Yi Qinghan coldly snorted, then ordered the army to bury the dead soldiers not far from the ancestral grave in the central region of the endless star system. This was a large cemetery. Only those who had sacrificed themselves for the endless star system could be buried here. Everyone regarded being buried here as the highest honor. The cemetery was divided into several sections. In front of each section, there was a tombstone that belonged to their own camp. There was the ancient massacre god, Lu Zhantian's Iron Dragon Army, Lu Lan's Blade, Xia Qiue's Dragon Cavalry, Azura Team, There were more than millions of tombstones, and more people died for the endless star system. Yi Qinghan personally buried this group of people and carved the tombstones. Although he was tired, he did not feel that it was a waste of time. After returning to All War Planet, Yi Qinghan immediately went into seclusion to recover his mental strength. The pressure on the arrogant sect was unprecedentedly great. First, they had to face the invisible person from the outer realm. Everyone knew that he was here for Yi Qinghan, so it could not be anyone else. Secondly, they had to find out which Holy Land attacked the entrance of the Azura domain. The Holy Lands ended the gambling fight hastily, and in the end, the entrances were divided. The strong demon god mountain occupied one entrance, while the other forces occupied one entrance for 2 Holy Lands. Some even occupied 3. Once the rights to the entrances were decided, all the forces rushed to their own entrances and forcibly opened them. They set up camps in front of the entrances and developed a large city. Only the arrogant sect and the Supreme Holy Land did not move. In the past few days of gambling, Yi Qinghan had used up a lot of his mental strength. After dozens of days of rest, his mental strength had increased explosively. It was close to the level of a Holy Lord, and his combat strength had reached the level of a Holy Lord. His ability to resist attacks was definitely not something that 10 Holy Lords could resist. The most important thing was that more than 10 godhoods had been condensed to the strongest state. Chapter 1147. After confirming the witch race, Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with coldness. The temperature in the hall dropped rapidly. "If you dare to trick me, I'll make sure you suffer," Yi Qinghan muttered. He clenched his fist and adjusted his state of mind. He took back the pendant and said indifferently, "Since they want me and the demon god mountain to suffer, then I will give them a taste of their own medicine. I will make a trip to the demon god mountain and return in 3 days. We will talk about everything after I return." After that, Yi Qinghan left the insane sect. His figure flashed and appeared outside the Xiaolong region in the blink of an eye. In terms of strength, Yi Qinghan had improved a lot. Just based on his speed, he had surpassed some of the Saint's sons. However, in terms of speed, no one could surpass Feng Qingshan. The demon god mountain had already occupied their own entrance to the Wangu Yuntian. They were preparing for a large-scale invasion to seize resources and develop the demon god mountain. Once the entrance to the Wangu Yuntian was completely occupied, a sacred ground would undergo earth-shaking changes. The demon god mountain was the same. There were countless resources in the Wangu Yuntian, enough for the chaotic universe to develop for countless years. No one even knew how big the Wangu Yuntian was. The Wangu Yuntian, the Primal Chaos Plane, the Azura Hell Mountain Range, and the Abyss World formed a huge Primal Chaos world. Every major force had built a huge domain gate at the entrance and sent a large army to guard it. Every entrance had at least 10 giant gods guarding it. Only the insane sect's location had not been moved. However, it had a natural barrier, and that was Haiteng. As Haiteng grew, this place would become an insurmountable barrier. Mo Li deployed a large army to guard his entrance. The elite kings and battle physiques were all recuperating. They were preparing to enter the Wangu Yuntian to absorb resources. After obtaining the resources they needed, they would undergo the final evolution. They would bathe in demon blood and display the might of the demon god mountain. At that time, the witch race would be suppressed. Most of the sacred grounds had to join hands to suppress the demon god mountain. Yi Kuan sat in the main seat of the demon god palace. The two of them were facing each other. The demonic nature and evil qi in their eyes sent chills down everyone's spine. Mo Li looked at the two fighting but didn't stop them. Back then, the great demon god controlled his subordinates. They could fight as long as they were obedient. However, he had only learned the surface of the great demon god mountain. The key was that these two strongest subordinates of the great demon god mountain range weren't obedient. Yes, names as names as hearts as Dao. If there were benefits as. We have already made a list of the resources we need to enter the Wangu cloud sky this time. Everyone, search according to this list. As long as you obtain the resources, you will be able to bathe in devil blood and restore your golden body, returning us to the Archdevil God era. Mo Li bowed, and his deep voice reverberated in the hall. In the Demon God Palace, everyone's battle intent soared. It was as if they had returned to the days when the great demon god ruled the world. No matter how evil and arrogant Yi Kun was, his didn't change. He hoped to become a peak expert and rule the world. If Mo Li could become the great demon god, he was willing to fight together with him. Mo Li looked at the satisfied. He waved his hand and said, "All battle constitutions and king realm elites, follow me to the Wangu Yuntian's entrance and clean up the battlefield." After speaking, Mo Li brought Yi Kun, Qin Wenin, the 4 battle constitutions, and the hidden elites out of the Demon God Palace. They took the space gate and arrived at the Wangu Yuntian's entrance. The Demon God Mountain had occupied the Wangu Yuntian's entrance, and there was already an army stationed there. This place was less than 1,000,000 li away from the Demon God Mountain. Passing through the space gate would only take a moment. The group of people stepped through the entrance forcefully. Looking at the colorful entrance, they were incomparably excited. In the past, if no one touched the Wangu Yuntian's entrance, no one could touch it. Now that they could enter, how could they not be excited? This was a space that hadn't been exploited for hundreds of millions of years. The space inside was vast and boundless, even bigger than the primal chaos plane. There were immeasurable treasures and wealth inside, and it was the favorite of the elite kings. Only with these treasures could they become the great gods of the primal chaos era. Experts like the serpent god Flood Dragon were even more terrifying than the current Saint Lords. "Follow me to open up a new battlefield." Mo Li took the lead. His spear pierced through the vortex, dispelling the clouds and directly rushing in. Yi Kun followed closely behind. He was ruthless and wanted to surpass Yi Qinghan at all times. He wanted to suppress him, and the resentment in his heart was already twisted. Following closely behind were Qin Wenin and the other battle constitutions, elite kings, and many unfamiliar faces. There were even more than those who had participated in the battle. High mountains and forests, birds flew in the sky. The sky was blue, and the outside was flattened by the Demon God Mountain, forming a huge city. There were at least hundreds of thousands of troops stationed there, and there was a space gate that led directly to the Demon God Mountain. Swish, 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 swish. Yi Qinghan flipped his hand again and disappeared. He extended his hand and said, "Please, I will be responsible for your safety. No one in the wild sect will attack you." Mo Li looked at Yi Qinghan and knew that he was unpredictable, but he still chose to believe him. After all, the crazy sect still needed him to find the real culprit. "All right." The 2 figures flashed and left the Demon God Mountain. The 2 of them were as fast as lightning, chasing after the wind and chasing after the sun. In the blink of an eye, they had traveled 10,000 miles. In the ancestral grounds of the sorcerer tribe, the second sorcerer god stared at Wu Yi coldly. The sorcerer god temple was dead silent. Other than the second sorcerer god, Wu Yi was the only one left. Wu Yi was sweating and didn't dare to raise his head. "I asked you to destroy the wild sect's headquarters, but you only sent 30 people and they were all wiped out. You organized a second attack and even brought the waist pendants of the demon god guards. Are you stupid or ignorant? Such an important item was prepared for a critical moment, but now you've ruined my plan." The second sorcerer god was flustered and exasperated. He hated that there was no one he could use now. The only one he had his eyes on was Yi Qinghan, but he didn't listen to his orders. "Ancestor, I was hoping that Yi Qinghan would be angry and attack the Demon God Mountain directly." Wu Yi quibbled. Slap. The second sorcerer god slapped Wu Yi in the face, causing him to spin in circles. "After dealing with Yi Qinghan for so long, you still mistook him for a brainless person. You idiot, it's my fault for giving you this task." The second sorcerer god reprimanded. Wu Yi didn't dare to refute. He thought that his plan was flawless and Yi Qinghan couldn't find any flaws. Even if he couldn't achieve his goal, he wouldn't expose himself. From today onwards, the Sorcerer God Guards will give up on cultivating the Extinction God Blade technique and change to the secret technique in the Sorcerer God's canon. No one is allowed to use the extinction god blade technique again. The second sorcerer god cut his losses and gave up a powerful secret technique, breaking the sorcerer tribe's self-created secret technique. However, his decision was correct because Emoli understood the sorcerer tribe's secret technique. The extinction god blade technique had the shadow of the divine technique in the sorcerer god's canon. Even if there was no evidence to prove that it was the sorcerer tribe's secret technique, as long as the sorcerer god guards used the extinction god blade technique again, they would be found out. At this moment, a black-clothed sorcerer god guard walked in and bowed before the second sorcerer god. Every demon god guard has their own waist pendant, so there must be a trace. Emoli said coldly, if we find out who leaked the waist pendants of the demon god guards, we will naturally find out who took them. The people who attacked the eccentric sect will naturally surface. After Emoli finished speaking, he didn't want to say anything more and wanted to leave. I brought you out of the demon god mountain, so I will naturally send you back. Please. Yi Qinghan gestured. Chapter 1149. After leaving Azura domain, Emoli asked Yi Qinghan to return. He was confident that he could return to Demon God Mountain with his own strength. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head. If something happened to Emoli or he went missing, there would be no room for reconciliation between Guangzong and Demon God Mountain. Although they would have to fight sooner or later, now was not the time. Guangzong needed time to develop his strength. I'll send you to Demon God Mountain, Yi Qinghan said firmly. Six Paths Domain was a transit point for the major forces. Because there was a powerful auction house here, many people passed by and it was bustling with activity. Yi Qinghan opened the entrance to Azura Domain and led Emoli towards Six Paths Domain. The distance between the two domains was not too far. After an incense stick's worth of time, they arrived at the entrance to the southwest of Six Paths Domain. As soon as they stepped out of the entrance, the wind blew the sand away. The cold wind sent chills down their spines, and the withered leaves danced in the wind, blocking their vision. Yi Qinghan and Emoli's brows twitched, but they did not pay much attention to it. Six Paths Domain was located in the north, and it was the beginning of winter. It was normal for there to be some cold air. Moreover, Six Paths Domain belonged to Guangzong's alliance. No matter how arrogant and crazy the enemy was, they would not attack Six Paths Domain at this time. Even if they did, Guangzong would receive a call for help. The entrance to Demon God Mountain's territory was not here, but in the south of Six Paths Divine City. It was a few thousand li away from this entrance, and one had to cross the Six Paths Divine City in front. Yi Qinghan walked in front and released his qi to block the cold air and sand. He strode forward and entered the city. There were a large number of guards standing guard outside the city. There was nothing out of the ordinary. There were also some pedestrians. Everything looked normal. Yi Qinghan no longer had any doubts and stepped towards the city gate with Emoli. The guards at the city gate only casually glanced at Yi Qinghan and Emoli before letting them pass. They stepped into the Six Realms Divine City with the pedestrians, and the Six Realms auction house was inside the city. Although Yi Qinghan had a strange feeling, he still did not suspect anything. The two of them entered the city, and as soon as they stepped out of the inner gate, a cold wind blew in front of them. The withered leaves turned into a sharp sword and pierced through a house. Killing intent rose in all directions. Yi Qinghan and Emoli raised their eyes to look at the street. There was no one in sight, not even a small vendor. Not good, let's retreat. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He turned and was about to leave the Six Realms Divine City. Boom! The city gates of the Six Realms Divine City were sealed shut. The city protection array enveloped the clouds, sealing off the space in all directions, and the guards and pedestrians disappeared from the city gates, appearing inside the city. A terrifying aura was released, soaring into the galaxy. Sect Master Yi, Sect Master, since you're here, don't be in such a hurry to leave. A hoarse voice seemed to have rushed out from the depths of hell, causing goosebumps to rise. Yi Qinghan looked at the 400 to 500 black-clothed people who had mysteriously appeared on the street in front of them. One group was wearing the same Blood Fiend divine clothes, while the other group was wearing the same clothes as the people who attacked the Endless Star System. However, they all wore masks, and the weakest among them was at the Overgod level. There were more than 100 giant gods, and 3 of them had the most terrifying auras. Their cultivations were unfathomable, and they were not inferior to him and Emoli. Emoli's eyes shone as he stared at the people in front of him. He felt that these people in blood-red battle robes were more like demons than the demonic god mountain. The gloomy, baleful aura was oppressive, and the cold air was bone-piercing. Even from 1,000 meters away, he could feel the killing intent. Who knew how many people these people had killed to gather so much baleful aura? Inda Yi Qinghan and Emoli took out their weapons at the same time and cautiously retreated towards the city gate. However, the city gate was already sealed, and it was also sealed by the city protection array. There were also many experts supporting the array outside. It was very difficult for the 2 of them to break through. "Who are you people?" asked Yi Qinghan with a hoarse voice. "Who we are is not important. What is important is our goal," said the leader wearing the blood-fiend Azura mask with a hoarse voice. His voice must have been altered. Yi Qinghan heard that the voice was blurred. He guessed that it was someone he was familiar with or someone who could not see the world. Otherwise, they would not have covered their face and changed their voice. "You want to kill us?" asked Emoli with a frown. "Smart. As expected of the great demonic god's inheritor. If you 2 die in the 6 paths domain, with Sect Master Yi impaled with the demonic god spear and Sect Master Mo impaled with berserk, this old man cannot imagine what kind of revenge the demonic god mountain and insane sect would take. I think everyone in the world wants to see what kind of power the demonic god mountain has and whether the insane sect, who is at its peak, can withstand it," the old man in the lead said with a chilling voice. It was as if he was not worried that Yi Qinghan and Emoli would escape. The 3 strongest experts were wearing masks made of special materials. Even Divine Sense could not see the faces behind the masks. The 3 of them each led a group of experts and spread out, surrounding Yi Qinghan and Emoli from 3 sides. Boom! Yi Qinghan's veins bulged. He poured out his divine power and slashed at the city gate. However, the entire 6 paths domain was shaking, but the city gate did not budge. The trembling sound of the collision rumbled, and the impact forced Yi Qinghan to take a few steps back. "Haha, Sect Master Yi, you are smart all your life, but you are stupid this time. Since this old man is here to kill you, why didn't I make full preparations?" When Emoli entered the Endless Star System, this old man had already occupied the 6 paths domain. "The city gate and walls here have been specially modified by me. Let alone the 2 of you, even if all of us worked together, we still wouldn't be able to break through." The old man in the lead laughed wildly. The chilling eyes on the mask were filled with disdain and ridicule. Emoli's expression turned ugly. He stared at the leading expert 100 meters in front of him and asked coldly, "You are the 2nd-generation sorcerer god, right? Other than you, I can't think of anyone else who has such a powerful intelligence network. When I just stepped into the Azura domain, you guys already occupied the 6 paths domain and built the city gate so sturdy. Other than the sorcerer race, I can't think of anyone else who can do this. A frog at the bottom of a well. How can a junior like you see the general trend of the world? Other than the Holy Lands, there are plenty of people who want to kill you 2 ignorant juniors," the leading old man said coldly. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up and he sneered. He had the Great Wastelands Monument, which was equivalent to having an overgod artifact, or even an overgod artifact. Even if he were to lie here and let them kill him, it would take them half a day to kill him. If he were to talk now, he might be able to find out the identity of the other party. If they really weren't from the sorcerer race, then wouldn't he be making enemies on multiple sides and letting the real enemy hide in the dark? "If you kill yourselves, this old man will let you have a complete corpse," the old man said indifferently. "Dream on." Yi Qinghan shouted and his aura exploded. He said to Emoli, "I don't believe that the entire 6 paths divine city will be controlled by them." Roared at the Emoli divine spear released a divine light and a demonic aura soared into the sky. The strange aura rushed into the city and covered the space. Shuadat, the group of experts, actually didn't attack. Instead, they hid themselves and disappeared without a trace. They quietly waited for Yi Qinghan and Emoli to rush out. Moreover, Such a powerful divine sword had never appeared in the world. Perhaps there really were some terrifying forces in the world that were unknown to the world. Who cares if he is or not? Let's kill our way out first. Yi Qinghan roared angrily. He stomped on the ground and rushed out of the city gate like a rainbow. However, a majestic energy came from underground and protected the ground in an instant. Everything returned to normal. Swish, 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 swish. At the same time, at least 100 attacks pierced through time and space and rushed towards Yi Qinghan's body. Every blade was soul-stealing, and every sword was fatal. The gloomy killing intent made people tremble in fear and despair. They were powerless to resist. Unfortunately, their opponent was Yi Qinghan and not an ordinary enemy. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan swung his 7-foot-heavy saber to create a huge defensive space. His sword chi was impenetrable and constantly collided with the saber and sword. Saber light and sword shadows flashed and rumbled unceasingly. The quality of these saber and sword was actually able to block the violent and powerful attacks. However, that group of people could not block his attacks and were directly sent flying by the energy waves. Bang, 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 bang. More than 10 figures were directly sent flying and crashed into the surrounding houses on the street. The houses collapsed and smoke and dust rose everywhere. Broken Tooth was unsheathed. The leading second sorcerer god attacked. His sword pierced through the clouds and went straight for Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan's frenzied saber was raised and hit the tip of the sword. The two divine weapons collided and a sharp ear-piercing sound blasted in all directions. Everyone's ears were ringing and their brains were about to explode. Hissed at the sound of the saber and sword pierced through the air. A very obvious gap appeared on Zhong Kuang's blade. However, before it could be repaired, the Blood Evil army rushed over. There were nearly 100 of them and their attack and defense were seamless. Their killing intense soared and affected one's mind. However, Yi Qinghan's mental fortitude was extremely strong. Even if 100 giant gods surrounded him, he wouldn't be flustered, let alone 100 Blood Evil guards. He waved his arms wildly, and his energy surged into the city. The houses around him collapsed with a loud bang. Wooden planks flew everywhere, and debris flew into the void. Boom, boom. Zhong Kuang once again sent everyone flying and clashed with the second sorcerer god. Xiao. The second sorcerer god was indeed a super existence in the Chaos era. His swordsmanship was sharp and his killing intent was oppressive. He forced Yi Qinghan to retreat. His powerful divine power could be clearly seen and firmly suppressed Yi Qinghan. Boom. Yi Qinghan stomped on the ground and rushed into the void. His saber light tore through the clouds and slashed at the second sorcerer god. The seemingly weak second sorcerer god could explode with the power to resist heaven's fall. He ruthlessly slashed at Zhong Kuang. Zhong Kuang was once again heavily injured. Yi Qinghan's body sped up and borrowed the force to attack the barrier above. Boom. The barrier shook slightly and the energy waves could be clearly seen. However, it could not be broken at all. If the barrier was not broken, it meant that what happened here could not be transmitted to the outside world. Yi Qinghan and Emoli could not escape. The gate outside the Six Realms Divine City was directly shattered. This place could not be entered or exited. There were still people guarding outside the city. If someone approached, they would be killed on the spot. You can't escape. Prepare to die. The second sorcerer god roared. His voice was hoarse as he stomped on the ground. He turned into a rainbow and rushed towards Yi Qinghan. On the other side, Emoli was also being chased. The Xiong Shenjiao was extremely powerful. With the help of Wu Yi and so many evil blood guards and sorcerer god guards, they could not fight back. They could only rely on guerrilla tactics to delay the situation and preserve their lives. Yi Qinghan and Emoli were anxious. If they continued fighting like this, they would die sooner or later. This group of people was the foundation of the sorcerer race. They had been hiding for who knows how many years. Killing a few or a dozen peak giant gods was just like playing around. Moreover, the two of them were trapped in the city and could not escape. They could only fight back. Spear after spear shot out like a meteor. The demon god's spear art was used to the point of perfection. Every spear wanted to take someone's life, but they were all blocked by the serpent divine dragon and Wu Yi. In just a few breaths of time, Mo Li's divine robe was torn, and his clothes were tattered. He was like a madman, rushing left and right like a headless fly. Yi Qinghan, who was in the sky, was not much better. He first had to face the second sorcerer god and the attacks of so many evil blood guards. Under such an asymmetrical attack, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Bang! Yi Qinghan repelled the second sorcerer god's attack with a slash. His dragon blood boiled, his veins bulged, and dragon scales covered his body. He kicked a evil blood guard, causing it to explode in the air. Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan didn't show any mercy after gaining the upper hand. After shattering the old man's body, he somersaulted in the air and punched the old man's godhead. The old man's godhead didn't have time to escape and was shattered by Yi Qinghan's punch. The old man's soul let out a miserable shriek and turned into a wisp of smoke. The broken tooth pierced through the air and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's reaction was extremely fast. Chapter 1151. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold as he stared at the masked second-generation sorcerer god. He couldn't be sure that the person in front of him was the second-generation sorcerer god, but the most important thing right now was to break this barrier. If he couldn't break it, then it would be useless even if he could prove that his opponent was the second-generation sorcerer god. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath as he felt a piercing pain in his chest. His back felt like it was being torn apart, and a deathly aura was spreading out. However, it was quickly suppressed by the true dragon's power. More than 10 godhoods in his sea of consciousness quickly revolved, and his body's condition was adjusted to its peak state. After a long time, Yi Qinghan said with a hoarse voice, "I can't break this barrier. This isn't an ordinary barrier. I used all of my strength and even borrowed a wave of energy, but I still couldn't shake this barrier. Damn it. Who are these damned people?" Mo Li cursed. He felt that even if the demonic god mountain used all of its resources, it would only be able to find half of these experts. The key was that the 3 experts were clearly at the Saint Lord level. One of them was enough for him to fight for half a day. "Why don't we switch targets? You attack that one, and I'll attack these 2? Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he asked in a low voice. Mo Li nodded and slowly turned around with Yi Qinghan, changing directions. The second-generation sorcerer god laughed with a hoarse voice. It was incomparably cold, sending chills down one's spine. "Ignorant brat, if you use all of your resources and bathe in demonic blood, you might be able to contend against me." The second-generation sorcerer god mocked. Mo Li's hair stood on end. He felt that he had no secrets in front of this person. This person even knew about the demonic god clan's forbidden technique. How was he supposed to fight? But after bathing in the demonic blood, you can only attack for 2 hours. After that, you'll just be a piece of trash. Even a low-level vicious beast can kill you. Do you think you'll be able to defeat me after 2 hours? Ha! The second-generation sorcerer god laughed wildly. Gulp! Mo Li swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was incomparably furious. This was the first time he felt so powerless. The other party had him completely under control, and he didn't even know who the other party was. Yi Qinghan looked at the large number of sorcerer god guards and blood evil guards approaching step by step. Wu Yi and Xiong Shenjiao dragon god's mask. Their wide battle robes fluttered in the wind under their masks cover their figures. It was the same mask, the same clothes, but the aura was different. If their attacks are this. If there's I is Yi. Chapter 1152. Yi Qinghan and Mo Li were both enraged by the divine bird's despicable words. The second sorcerer god was obviously mocking them. Even if Yi Qinghan really killed Mo Li, he wouldn't be able to live. Not only that, but he would also implicate the insane sect in the face of the demon god mountain's full revenge. The divine bird spoke very seriously as it stared at Yi Qinghan, hoping that he would make a move. Mo Li's face turned red from anger. His originally handsome face became distorted, and he wished that he could slap this despicable bird to death. Idiot, you guys fight first. I'll go find the array core of the Great City Barrier Array and tear down this barrier, the divine bird said wretchedly. Kill him. Anyway, we have a grudge against the demon god mountain. Don't forget those heroes of the insane sect who died. The divine bird spread its wings and shouted. Divine flames covered the sky, reminding Yi Qinghan to use the divine flames to block his vision so that it could escape. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He clenched the insane sect in his hand, killing intent radiating from him. Mo Li was shocked and took a few steps back. He looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously and said coldly, Yi Qinghan, don't be stupid. If you attack me now, this group of people won't let you go. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he said, at least I can avenge the heroes who died. When I go to hell, I'll have the face to see my dead brothers and sisters, right? Even the second sorcerer god didn't expect that Yi Qinghan would really kill Mo Li. However, the second sorcerer god and the others didn't continue to attack. Instead, they sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fight. It was obvious that they didn't want to sacrifice the blood evil guards and sorcerer guards. These two people were definitely at the divine master level, and they were even stronger than the second sorcerer god. The second sorcerer god was expressionless. He waved his hand and signaled everyone to step back and make room for Yi Qinghan. At this moment, Yi Qinghan suddenly exploded. Divine flames covered the sky and spread out for thousands of miles, enveloping the second sorcerer god and the blood evil guards. He himself turned into a flaming war god and slashed at Mo Li. His blade chi was unstoppable. It didn't seem like he was faking it at all. He had clearly used his full strength. The divine flames couldn't be extinguished. A dozen sorcerer guards and sorcerer guards were who didn't have the time to escape. The flames couldn't be extinguished, and they were. The flames couldn't be, they were, and the flames. Under the protection of the little Jinwu, the divine bird and the little moneygrubber took advantage of the chaos to escape. In a flash, they disappeared into an empty building. Rolling and crawling, they ran along the street walls and quickly left the second lord of sorcerer's sight. After saying that, the divine bird took a break from its busy work. It opened the universe ring that had a huge internal space and swept away all the resources, divine sources, and rare treasures. The entire treasury suddenly became empty, and only a few broken stones were rolling on the ground. Shio that the divine bird changed its position and consecutively released 5 treasure locations, taking away all the resources, but it didn't find the Great Array Core. I'm really fucking a bird. Could it be that my innate ability is useless? I have searched the entire inner city, but why can't I find the special energy of the Great Array Core? The divine bird glanced around in puzzlement. After searching the entire inner city, it still couldn't find the Great Array Core. At this moment, the little miser found the divine bird under the little golden crow's watch. It also had a helpless expression. It seemed like it also couldn't find the Great Array Core. This shouldn't be. My innate ability has disappeared, but it can't be that yours has disappeared as well, right? Why can't I find the energy fluctuation? The divine bird was furious. It felt very humiliated. When you came, did you notice a blood lake in the northwest? Could it be that the smell of blood and bones have masked the energy fluctuation? The real Great Array Core. The Great Array Core is in that pile of bones. The little miser suddenly exclaimed. These bastards are really smart. They actually managed to trick this divine bird. The divine bird spread its wings and rushed towards the blood lake in the northwest again. The little golden crow restrained its aura and followed it to the side of the blood lake. It really couldn't bear to continue watching. This kind of killing of its own kind was probably something only this kind of human could do. It was simply more beastly than a beast. It didn't have the slightest bit of intelligence. It's down there. Brother, I'm not good with water. Why don't you go down and destroy the Great Array Core? The divine bird looked at the disgusting pile of bones and blood. It really didn't want to go down, so it turned its head and looked at the little golden crow. The little golden crow was of the fire attribute. Wasn't it purely looking for death by going down to the bottom of the lake?
What?
The little golden crow roared at the divine bird and glared at it fiercely. The divine bird couldn't help but admit defeat. It smiled embarrassedly and retreated, looking at the little miser. The little miser immediately glared at it and said in exasperation, "You heartless thing! Do you want me, a beautiful divine bird, to go into the blood lake?" The divine bird immediately withered. There was no one to order it around, so it had to do it personally. It clenched its teeth and plunged into the pile of bones.